Why society wants you to stay average, Schopenhauer reveals, let's be honest, most of us have, at some point, felt an invisible force keeping us within the boundaries of the ordinary. You go to school, you get a job, you settle into a routine, and you live a life that feels scripted. It's as if society has laid out a pre-approved path, and the moment you dare to stray from it, aiming higher, thinking differently, questioning the norm, you are met with resistance. But why? Why does society seem to want you to stay average? Why does the world subtly discourage true individuality? Schopenhauer, one of the most brilliant yet pessimistic philosophers in history, provides an answer that, once understood, changes everything. Schopenhauer argued that the masses follow a herd mentality, and this herd is not particularly interested in individuals who think for themselves. The reason is simple: independent thought threatens the structure that keeps society functioning smoothly. Imagine a world where every person questioned authority, rejected conventional wisdom, and pursued their own, deeply personal sense of meaning. It would be chaotic, unpredictable, perhaps even dangerous to the established order. Systems of power, whether political, economic, or cultural, thrive on predictability. They require conformity because conformity ensures stability. This is why from an early age we are taught to fit in, to suppress our deepest curiosities, and to follow the same well-trodden road that countless others have walked before us. But here's the paradox: the same society that pressures you into being average also idolizes those who break free from the mold. History remembers the outliers, the rebels, the ones who refused to stay within the lines. Think about it: every great thinker, artist, inventor, and leader was, at some point, told they were wrong, foolish, or even dangerous. Yet later, they were celebrated for the very ideas that once made them outsiders. Schopenhauer understood this contradiction well. He believed that the majority of people live in an illusion, mistaking social approval for true fulfillment. They chase external validation, status, money, recognition, without realizing that real greatness often requires walking a lonely path. And so society both fears and admires those who break free. This tension is what keeps most people trapped in mediocrity. They yearn for greatness, but are terrified of the isolation and struggle that come with it.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Have you ever noticed how the moment you decide to improve yourself, whether by learning a new skill, pursuing a passion, or simply thinking differently, you encounter resistance? Sometimes this resistance comes from others, friends who subtly discourage you, family members who advise you to be realistic, or co-workers who mock your ambitions. Other times, the resistance comes from within: self-doubt, fear of failure, or the overwhelming pressure to conform. Schopenhauer would argue that this is not a coincidence. The world is structured in such a way that breaking free from the average is psychologically and socially taxing. It requires a kind of inner strength that few are willing to cultivate. But here's the truth: the discomfort you feel when stepping outside the norm is proof that you are on the right path. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. If you feel resistance, it means you are approaching something meaningful. Now, ask yourself, are the beliefs and values you hold truly your own, or have they been given to you by society? Have you ever stopped to question why you want the things you want? Schopenhauer believed that most people never do. They live as if under a spell, blindly adopting the desires, fears, and ambitions that society has placed upon them. They chase careers they don't love, buy things they don't need, and seek approval from people they don't even respect. Why? Because it is easier to follow the script than to write your own. But the cost of this ease is enormous. It is the slow death of individuality. Yet, the moment you break free from this conditioning, something extraordinary happens. You begin to see the world differently. You realize that many of the rules you once followed were arbitrary. But you understand that success, happiness, and meaning are not one size fits all. You stop seeking validation from the outside and start creating a life that is authentically your own. But this freedom comes with a price. The more you think for yourself, the more you will distance yourself from the herd. The more you pursue your own truth, the lonelier the journey will become. This is why so few people ever take this path. It demands courage, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to self-discovery. But here's something most people will never tell you: the loneliness of the independent thinker is temporary. Yes, at first, breaking away from societal expectations can feel isolating. You may lose friends, encounter criticism, or feel like an outsider. But over time, something incredible happens. You attract others who think like you, people who are also on their own journey of self-discovery. You begin to build a life that is not just successful by societal standards, but deeply fulfilling on your own terms. And in the end, this kind of life, one lived with authenticity, depth, and purpose, is far more rewarding than the comfortable mediocrity that society originally offered you. So, the question is, will you choose the difficult path of true individuality, or will you remain comfortably average? Will you dare to think for yourself, even when it goes against everything you've been taught? Will you embrace the uncertainty that comes with freedom, or will you settle for the illusion of security? Schopenhauer would argue that most people will choose the latter, not because they are incapable of greatness, but because they fear the struggle that comes with it. But if you are one of the rare few who chooses the former, know this: the journey will not be easy, but it will be worth it. The silent war on individuality, why society fears independent thinkers. Think about this. If society truly valued individuality, why is everything designed to push you towards sameness? From the moment we enter the world, we are placed into systems that prioritize obedience over originality, structure over spontaneity, and conformity over critical thinking. Schools don't teach you how to think, they teach you what to think. Workplaces don't reward creativity, they reward compliance. But even social circles operate within invisible boundaries. Step too far outside the accepted norms, and you risk being labeled as weird, difficult, or even delusional. But why? Why does society subtly, yet systematically, discourage true independence of thought? Schopenhauer believed that society, at its core, is not built to nurture extraordinary individuals, but to maintain order. And order, by definition, requires predictability. Those who think for themselves disrupt this predictability. They ask uncomfortable questions. They reject traditions that no longer serve a purpose. They refuse to adhere to superficial expectations, valuing truth over social approval. These people, philosophers, inventors, artists, radical thinkers, are seen as dangerous, not because they intend to cause harm, but because they challenge the foundations of what most people accept without question. Have you ever noticed how mediocrity is rewarded, while true brilliance is often met with resistance? The student who memorizes and regurgitates information gets good grades, while the one who questions the system is labeled a troublemaker. The employee who quietly follows orders gets promoted, while the one who innovates too much is seen as a threat. Society doesn't actually celebrate intelligence, it celebrates obedience disguised as intelligence. It doesn't reward true success, it rewards socially acceptable forms of it. The game is rigged in favor of those who play by the rules, even if those rules are arbitrary. But here's where it gets even deeper. Most people don't even realize they are part of this system. They are not consciously choosing to suppress their individuality. They simply don't know any other way to live. They have been conditioned to value approval over authenticity, to seek comfort over challenge, and to mistake security for happiness. Schopenhauer saw this as one of the great tragedies of human existence. He believed that most people are not free thinkers, not because they lack intelligence, but because they have never developed the willpower to question their reality. They live in self-imposed limitations, unaware that the chains holding them back were placed there by society's expectations. And yet, society has a strange relationship with those who break free. It resists them at first, ridiculing them, rejecting them, sometimes even punishing them. But later, when their ideas prove to be revolutionary, it rewrites history to celebrate them. That every great thinker, from Socrates to Galileo, from Nietzsche to Tesla, was once considered dangerous. But time has a way of vindicating those who dare to think differently. The same world that once sought to suppress them later builds statues in their honor. The message here is clear. If you are met with resistance for thinking differently, you are likely onto something important. But here's the hard truth: most people will never escape this cycle. They will stay trapped in the illusion of choice, believing they are making independent decisions while unknowingly following a script written for them. They will pursue careers they don't love because they were told it's the smart thing to do. They will shape their personalities around what is socially acceptable rather than what is true to them. They will silence their own thoughts, not because they lack ideas, but because they fear the consequences of expressing them. So the question is, where do you stand? Are you willing to challenge the beliefs you've inherited, to redefine success on your own terms, to embrace the discomfort that comes with thinking independently? Or will you, like so many before you, trade your individuality for the comfort of belonging? Schopenhauer would argue that true freedom is not found in external achievements but in the liberation of the mind. And that kind of freedom is available to anyone, but only if they are brave enough to claim it. The illusion of choice, how society tricks you into staying average. Most people go through life believing they are making choices, choosing a career, choosing their beliefs, but choosing how they live. But what if I told you that most of these choices aren't truly yours? What if, from the very beginning, you were subtly guided toward options that were never designed to set you free, but to keep you within the boundaries of what society deems acceptable? Schopenhauer believed that while humans crave freedom, they rarely attain it because their desires, thoughts, and ambitions are shaped by forces they do not recognize. The illusion of choice is one of the most powerful tools used to keep people average. Think about education. You are told that you have the freedom to choose what to study, yet the subjects that dominate the curriculum are carefully curated. You are taught history, but only the version that serves national narratives. You are taught science, but often without the philosophical implications that challenge established ideas. You are taught how to work within a system, but never how to question the system itself. From childhood, your thinking is molded, not to help you become an independent thinker, but to ensure that you can function within the existing structure. And once you believe that this structure is the only path to success, you never think to look beyond it. You believe you are making choices, But in reality, you are selecting from a limited menu of pre-approved options. You now consider the job market. Society tells you that success means getting a stable, high-paying job. But what it doesn't tell you is that the entire concept of employment is built around dependence. Most jobs are not designed to make you wealthy or free. They are designed to keep you just comfortable enough that you won't question the system. You earn enough to survive, maybe even to afford luxuries, but never enough to truly escape the cycle. You trade your time, your creativity, and often your passion for a paycheck, all while believing you are progressing in life. But if you stop and ask yourself, is this truly my dream, or did I just accept the best option society presented to me? The answer might disturb you. Social norms reinforce this illusion. You are subtly pressured to chase milestones that keep you tethered to the system. Buy a house, take on debt, start a family, work for retirement. Each step seems like a choice, but in reality, it's a carefully designed sequence that ensures you remain dependent on the very structures that limit your freedom. And the moment you try to step outside of this structure to pursue an unconventional path, to reject materialism, and to prioritize personal growth over societal approval, you are met with skepticism, criticism, and sometimes even hostility. Why? Because when one person breaks free, it forces others to question their own choices. And most people would rather defend their illusions than confront the truth. Schopenhauer believed that the rarest and most valuable trait a person can develop is the ability to think for themselves. Not just to form opinions, but to truly dissect the origins of their beliefs, to challenge every assumption, and to carve out a path that is uniquely their own. But this is not easy. It requires unlearning much of what you have been taught. It requires embracing discomfort, uncertainty, and sometimes even loneliness. Because when you step away from the herd, you lose the comfort of belonging. But what you gain in return is something far greater: authenticity, clarity, and true freedom. So ask yourself, are you really making choices, or are you just following a script written for you? Are your ambitions truly yours, or were they planted in your mind by society's expectations? And most importantly, if you discovered that everything you believed about success and happiness was an illusion, then would you have the courage to start over and redefine it for yourself? Breaking the chains, how to escape society's trap and live on your own terms. If everything you've been told about success, happiness, and meaning has been carefully designed to keep you within society's boundaries, the real question is, how do you break free? How do you unlearn years of conditioning and reclaim your own mind? Schopenhauer believed that true liberation comes not from external achievements, but from a radical shift in perspective, a complete detachment from the values that society imposes on you. But achieving this is not easy. It requires a level of self-awareness and courage that most people will never develop. Because escaping the trap isn't just about rejecting the system, it's about rebuilding yourself from the ground up. The first step is to recognize that most people live in a psychological prison without realizing it. They are trapped, not by physical barriers, but by the invisible walls of fear, doubt, and societal expectations. They conform not because they want to, but because they have been taught that stepping outside the norm is dangerous. They chase money, status, and approval, believing these things will bring them happiness, yet they constantly feel unfulfilled. Why? Because they are living according to someone else's definition of success. The moment you understand this, everything changes. You start to see the game for what it is: a carefully constructed illusion designed to keep you in place. And once you see the illusion, you can no longer be controlled by it. But awareness alone is not enough. You must take action. That means questioning everything: your beliefs, your desires, your fears. It means asking yourself, do I actually want this? Or was I told to want this? It means stripping away every external expectation and rebuilding your life based on what truly matters to you. And this is where most people fail. Because the moment you start thinking for yourself, you will face resistance. Friends and family will question your choices. Society will try to pull you back into the script. Your own mind will rebel against the uncertainty. But this is the test. This is the price of freedom. If you can push through, if you can silence the noise of the world and listen to your own intuition, you will discover something that few ever experience: authenticity. Schopenhauer believed that the highest form of existence is not found in wealth, status, or social validation, but in the ability to live by one's own philosophy. And this requires a level of independence that most people are too afraid to embrace. It means being willing to walk alone if necessary. It means valuing truth over comfort, knowledge over ignorance, depth over superficiality. It means rejecting the distractions that keep most people asleep: the endless chase for material possessions, the mindless consumption of entertainment, the constant need for external approval. Because the more you detach from these things, the more you realize how little they actually matter. But here's the paradox: when you stop chasing what society tells you to chase, you often end up achieving more than those who blindly follow the system. When you stop seeking validation, you become genuinely respected. But when you stop chasing money for its own sake, you often create real financial freedom. When you stop trying to fit in, you attract people who truly resonate with you. This is the ultimate irony. The moment you stop playing the game, you start winning it. Because you are no longer controlled by fear, by societal pressures, or by the illusion of success. You are living on your own terms, and that is the rarest, most valuable achievement of all. So ask yourself, are you ready to break free? Are you willing to question everything, to risk being misunderstood, to step into the unknown? Most people won't. They will continue living in the illusion, too afraid to step outside of it. But if you are one of the few who dares to see the truth, then you already know the only path worth walking is the one you create for yourself.